0.76. What's up, guys? Doug with Medic Rifleman. So today we're going to talk about red dot sights. Red dot sights are a electronic device that is used to simplify your aiming with a rifle or a handgun or any other firearm for that matter. So we're going to talk very quickly about the basics of red dot sights, what they are, how they're set up. Again, basic level, service level stuff. If you've been using red dot sights for a prolonged period of time and you're confident and comfortable with good information and background on their use, this video is probably not for you. If you're new to this, you're new to red dot concepts, or you haven't actually had any exposure to good knowledge on these subjects, and you feel comfortable with me giving you some information based on my experiences and exposures, then hopefully you enjoy the video and find something out of it. So first, let's talk red dots. So we're going to start with this on a rifle. So this is a Trijicon MRO on a LaRue lower 1/3 mount. So like I said, this is just basically a tube with a projected red dot in it that represents the orientation of the rifle. So most of your red dots are going to be a 2, or in the rifle world, most of them are going to be a 2 MOA dot. We'll do a video on what MOA means. MOA is an angular unit of measure. Roughly 1 MOA at 100 yards is approximately 1 inch. So you're going to have approximately a 2-inch dot at 100 yards. Most fighting rifles of quality have between 1 and 3 MOA accuracy potential. So that means that will roughly represent your rifle's accuracy, though not necessarily perfectly the point of aim and point of impact relation, i.e. where the dot is and where the bullet will actually go. Now, on rifles like this, it's common to use a 50-meter zero. That will give you an approximate zero with a change or variation in your point of impact of no more than approximately 3 inches up or down, out to approximately 220 meters or so. What that means is that from 0 to 200 meters on most targets, there's really not any guesswork. Put that dot center master and get a real tight concentration of fire out to that 200, 220, 250 meter window. Out to 300 meters, you're going to have a little bit of drop. Really close, you're going to hit a little bit low as well. That is going to be referred to as optic standoff. So the distance between the center of the optic and the center of the bore, approximately 2 to 3 inches, depending on the optic setup you have. Excuse me. On a rifle like this. So anyway, so let's talk basics, right? So this is controlled, of course, by a battery. Battery life on most quality optics. You have to do your research on this, make sure you're getting an optic that fits this. Where you're using a simple dot reticle, you're going to have well over a year of battery life on an appropriate setting. On this optic right here, the Trijicon MRO, I kept it on setting 3 and 4 from August of 2016 all the way until June 2020. Over almost 4 years of constant on use on a daylight bright setting, and the battery finally died in June of 2020 after almost 4 years of constant use. These modern red dots will, if you change them once a year, if you're using a standard dot and your optic fits that performance threshold, changing the battery once a year, you will have a dot always. The red dot simplifies your aiming solutions. Let's go ahead and show you really quickly what it looks like. So your red dot is going to be really simple. You're going to orient it, forgive me while I get oriented on here, just like that, in the center of the glass. Up close like this, of course, you'll have the standoff issue. We'll talk about that in later videos. But it just simplifies everything. If you do a lot of practice in weird circumstances, or if you have the access to train in environments that better simulate the actual world we interact with, you will find that red dots simplify all aiming problems for most of your practical uses with a rifle. Now, if your intent is to be engaged past 50 meters, we have to start talking about different options. Of course, there's the magnifier option, where you use a magnifier in conjunction with a red dot. I'll show you an example. And don't worry, we'll get the pistols here in a second. But this is an example of a red dot set up with a magnifier right now in the downwards position, right now with the magnifier engaged. This gives you your simple up-close red dot use where you are aware of your target and you can start engaging it. And then if you are having a hard time seeing your target, or you need to identify better what it is exactly that you're looking at before you engage, you can use the magnifier. Now this example is a 3x magnifier. That's the only one that I have personal experience with. That is going to give you shooting ability comfortably, where you can really get a good look at your target out to about 300 meters. It's going to give you engagement potential out to approximately 500-600 meters and being able to actually see your target. And it's going to give you good positive target ID out to about 150-200 meters, depending on your eyesight. And what I mean by that is being able to actually identify exactly who you're looking at and whether or not they are a threat or a friend or whatever else you might be looking for. Now, something to consider when you are selecting a red dot sight is the way that it mounts to your weapon. One second. So, whether you're talking pistols with the Trijicon RMR footprint or red dot sights with the Aimpoint T2 footprint, the footprint of the optic is how it interferes with the mounting system. Why that's important is because you may find as you grow as a shooter that you want to modify how your optic is mounted to your rifle or your pistol. Now, on a rifle, you might go to a magnified optic and you want to have a offset mount, or you might find that a higher presentation of the dot is a better suit for you and your needs. You may find that you need to clear your optic past lasing, aiming, designators, and things like that. If you start getting into night vision, there's all kinds of reasons that you may find yourself looking for a different mount. So going with something that is very well supported in the aftermarket world, like the Aimpoint T2 mount, the Trijicon MRO has a lot of options out there. The Trijicon RMR slide cut or mounting surface is very popular. It's used with different red dots, and it is often supported as technology grows with optics like the Holostone 509T, which requires a clamping method as you can't access through the optic body, but it comes with a mounting plate for an RMR cut, with the understanding that a lot of people are moving from the Trijicon RMR to a closed emitter optic. So with that being said, keep that in mind when you're going out and looking for your optics. You'll see terms like absolute and co-witness, absolute co-witness, lower one-third co-witness. What that refers to is if you acquire an iron sight picture through your red dot sight, the absolute co-witness will have a slightly lower presentation so that the irons look through the very center of the glass. With the lower one-third, it will present the optic slightly higher, where your iron sights look through the bottom one-third of the glass. Now, that is helpful because with the lower one, with the absolute co-witness, you're going to have to get a little lower on that rifle. With the lower one-third, you can have a slightly more upright, more comfortable position. Then you get into things like the ScalarWorks 193 mount, the Unity Fast mount, where they're up high off the rail. Those are very comfortable positions to get into. The way that they interact with the actual shooting position is very comfortable, very natural, very low strain. It can also be beneficial if you're trying to co-witness with a night vision device. These are things to consider as you grow, but as you start off, getting a lower one-third or a 193 mount, I think, is ideal for most people. It is a comfortable, natural aiming method, aiming height. And if you're new, it really doesn't matter what you're starting with, because that will be your only exposure to red dot sights, and it will be natural regardless really of what it is. Those lower one-thirds and 193 mounts tend to work for a lot of people. As far as quick detach mounts are concerned, quick detach mounts are intended to be able to take your optic off of your weapon expediently. There's quick detach and there's field able detach rather. Things like the LaRue, I'll show you an example here. The LaRue mount, where you have to unlock this by pulling back, and then you can simply throw the latch and pull the optic off. They do repeat 0, but don't trust that just because you should check your 0 and be very sure that your rifle is oriented with your red dot sight. The idea is that if this gets caked with mud or destroyed, or if the battery dies or whatever, you can rip the optic off and go to your irons and not have any interruption between your irons. If you're running iron sights, a quick detach option might be very good to consider. If you're not, having something field expedient like the Scalar works, where it's no tools required and you have a good consistent tightening with your fingers on the ratchet system, it's a great way to go, and it's much sleeker. Another thing to consider, you can just shove the appropriate sized wrench, whether it be a Torx wrench or an Allen key or whatever. There's little ones that come with your optic. You can just take one of those or an extra one or whatever and shove it up inside the pistol grip storage compartment that a lot of guns come with, and that is more than adequate to play the game, so to speak. Especially if you're trying to save up and you're new and you have a bunch of crap you need to look for. Simplifying that can be a perfectly fine thing to do. Anyway, as far as pistols are concerned, I understand for a lot of people, getting your slide cut for a red dot sight can be intimidating. Do make sure that you're investing in a good company. It doesn't necessarily need to be extremely expensive, just vetted that they're doing this in a way that is proper. I had this milled out by the recommendation of a local gun store because he had a friend that could do a great job. His friend did not do a great job. And now I'm going to have to, not only did I have to send it off, spend the money on him, now I have to send the slide into a proper company to have it redone. I'm going to be sending it to Agency Arms to have an AOS cut applied to this weapon. So red dot pistol sights are the way to go if you are able to do so. The only issue that people will often have is getting a good presentation with the gun. If you are training that, it shouldn't ever be a problem. You should be able to get a good presentation every time with no concerns. Your laziness to not train appropriately with good technique is really the con, not the aiming system. Now, as far as choosing a red dot sight, I find that if you're using it for concealed carry or urban use, there is no problem at all with the Trijicon RMR. If you're using it in a field environment or an environment with uncertain weather conditions, you might consider something like the Holosun 509T or the Aimpoint Acro P2. That is a fully enclosed system that will help keep crap out of your aiming device. This kind of acts like a cup, especially if your gun is not the primary use of your activity. So something to keep in mind. I'll do more videos on that in the future. But in the concepts of just using your weapon system in a way that is effective, this is a much simpler aiming option that will give you a much easier time and allow you to focus on all the other crap that you need to, not just sitting there trying to line up and focus on your front sight while there's maybe something much more interesting happening in front of you. So that being said, hopefully it's been helpful for you guys. I really like I really like red dot sights as an aiming solution for most applications. I think it's appropriate. If you guys have any questions about red dot sights, please let me know. I'm sure I didn't cover enough in this video, and I'll need to do videos with further information. But I wanted a quick introduction to the idea of red dot sights for people to contrast my iron sights video. That being said, it's been Dogmatic Rifleman. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Keep getting at it out there, guys. Dogmatic Rifleman, because everywhere deserves good and capable riflemen with easy and simplified aiming solutions for their aiming problems. Y'all have a great day.